some little press-on nails together and chat about what it was like to go cold turkey off of breastfeeding. I needed to gather my supplies here. I'm doing this in my bed, so I put down a little towel. I'm trying to decide between these kiss ones that have a smiley face and a pink French tip and like a little flower, or these cherry nails. I think I want to do the cherry nails. They're really cute. I did make a video talking about how I was going to stop breastfeeding around 11 months postpartum, which I did try doing. It was an earnest effort. I feel like I had a full-blown mental breakdown when I tried. I don't know what it was, but I had a really hard time stopping breastfeeding. It was such an emotional thing for me. To this day, it still is. It's such a bond with you and baby, which is so funny because I honestly never even thought I would breastfeed in the first place. Me and my siblings were all not breastfed, so I just like didn't think that was even something I would do, and I definitely didn't think I would be so attached to it. But anyway, the first time I tried to stop, I just couldn't handle it. I stopped for a little bit and then I started again, and then I was just kind of combo feeding, which I actually really liked because it took the pressure off of me to feel like he was exclusively breastfed and I had to produce all this milk, but then also it gave me the opportunity to still have that time with him and that bond. So then his birthday came around and he turned 1, and my goal was to breastfeed for a year. I was fine if I went over it or if I didn't make it to that, but that was my goal, was to breastfeed for 1 year. On the night of his birthday, I fed him and I just felt like, okay, this is the last time. And I cried and it was emotional. And then honestly, for the next 3 days after that, he did not even care. It's like he didn't notice. And I was feeling fine as far as the girls go. So I was feeling pretty confident with the decision. I'm like, this was a really good decision. It was just time, like yada yada. Then I don't know what happened, but he realized that I wasn't feeding him anymore and he was pissed. So that's where the probably week and a half to 2 weeks of that really rough transition to whole milk and like fully doing bottles started with him. We saw sleep deteriorate a lot because I was used to just going in his room and nursing him to sleep throughout the night, where then now we were having to make a bottle in the middle of the night, which is a little bit more of a process, also something he's not used to. So he would only take the bottle extremely warm. It had to be perfectly warmed up to the temperature of his liking. But yeah, it was honestly just a really big transition on him. Pretty much 3 days after I stopped nursing him, I started taking 2 different medications that you cannot take while you're nursing. So I felt horrible because I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm denying him something that he still wants, and that was never my goal. So I just felt really bad. It was a lot harder on me emotionally than I thought it was going to be, especially because I have a lot of friends that stopped nursing and they were like, I wasn't as emotional about it as I thought it was going to be. And for me, it was the opposite. I was way more emotional about it than I thought I was going to be. Now, as far as physical symptoms go of me stopping cold turkey like that, I got so engorged. If you saw what the girls looked like, you'd be scared. I was scared. It was not right. It was not natural looking. Something looked severely wrong. It looked like I had botched surgery. That's the way that I felt like it looked. They were just like rock hard, lumpy, very hot. I definitely think I had a little bout of mastitis. I didn't end up going to the doctor, which is obviously something you should not do if you feel like you have mastitis, but I was feverish. I had the chills. I just felt so sick. And then on top of that, I was dealing with the hormone drop off from stopping something so suddenly. And then what I looked into is basically your body's producing prolactin and then also giving you a bunch of oxytocin every time you nurse. So my supply of those 2 things got abruptly cut off, which honestly like kind of sent me into a little bit of a tizzy. I definitely felt like it was like another hormone drop off, almost like the way I felt postpartum. I still think I'm really balancing out from that. It's officially been 3 or 4 weeks since I've stopped, and I just now feel like my hormones are beginning to regulate again. Would I do this again? No. I would say it honestly probably took a week and a half for them to soften and stop being extremely painful. A lot of people ask me what I did to mitigate the pain and to kind of help it go down. So I tried a lot of different things. I'll tell you really quickly what I think worked and what I think did not. I did cabbage leaves, which I think helped a little bit. I did ice compress, which I do think helped as well. Constantly wearing a tight bra. I don't really think this helped. I actually think that this made things a bit more painful because I don't know necessarily how to explain it. If you've done this before, if you've dried up your milk, you might know when you're trying to dry up your milk, your chest will kind of form into like whatever shape you put it into. So if you're wearing like a tight, restrictive bra, it will almost like I genuinely don't even know how to explain what I'm saying without being explicit, but like it will form your girls to that and it's really painful. These are really cute. They're just sharper than I like, so I'm filing them more to be a little more rounded because if they're too sharp, I will scratch the child. A lot of people recommended taking decongestants to drive the milk. I've heard that this works wonders. I genuinely could not find Sudafed anywhere near me. I think it's because you can like make meth with it or something. So anyway, I couldn't find it anywhere near me and I ended up just not doing it. Okay, I kept getting mixed things. Like some people were saying to go in the shower and put warm water and do massage and massage it out. Some people were saying that goes against medical advice. I am gonna say the couple times that I did do the warm water, it did help. It did help a lot. I went in a jacuzzi one time and I felt like I was very much so softened by that. I don't know if that's because I leaked milk or something, but I felt a lot better afterwards. And yeah, that's basically that. This is definitely not medical advice as well, by the way. I am not an expert in this topic, just letting you guys know what happened to me. Taking ibuprofen definitely helped. I try to do this sparingly because I know it's not good on the liver, but it was most definitely necessary and I would do it again. Some things that I found were really helpful for weaning him off of nursing was definitely having a ton of snacks, like a variety of snacks on hand. So I guess that would be considered distraction. And then also buying the Horizon shelf stable milk. This was huge because he's used to drinking milk pretty much on command. Like he wasn't having a certain amount of bottles every single day. I just nursed him on command. Whenever he wanted to, he would, which was very frequently. So sometimes I feel like for comfort, he just wants something, and having that Horizon milk that I could just stab the straw in, pour it into a bottle really quick and give it to him has been a lifesaver. For some people, this may not be a problem because they'll just give their baby cold milk. My baby doesn't like cold milk. It has to be at least room temperature is what I've found. And when you're traveling, you don't really always have access to whole milk. So I packed a bunch of those little Horizon shelf stable milks in my backpack, and they've also been really helpful in the middle of the night. We just leave a bunch of those bottles right next to his room, and then we have the milk cartons right there. So when he wakes up in the middle of the night, we just stab one of the milk cartons, pour it into a bottle, and go into his room with that. You guys know I don't like to be negative, but I do have to keep it 100 with you. I did regret stopping. I did, and I still kind of do. In hindsight, I probably would have gone to like 18 months where milk was less important to him, and it wouldn't have been such a big deal to stop. That's what one of my friends did, and I just feel like her baby was eating so much more solids by then. Now, Archer literally eats a ton. Like he eats 3 meals a day and he snacks all throughout the day, but milk is still highly important to him because it's like a source of comfort. So I think I would have weaned off of that slower. Next baby, I definitely will wean the process. I won't do it cold turkey. I honestly don't really know why I did that. Sometimes I can tend to be a bit impulsive and I feel like I just need to rip the band-aid off, and that's the best way to do things. And then I always come to regret it. I think also the reason why I felt like I needed to rip the band-aid off was because there was a lot of times I said, oh, this is going to be the last time I nurse him. This is going to be the last time I nurse him. And then I kept not following through. So I think on his first birthday, it just felt, I don't know how to explain it. It just felt like this special moment. And it felt like it was just like, okay, this is the last time. But honestly, I did regret it after. Breastfeeding is so convenient. And I understand it is hard for a lot of people. It's not easy to produce milk. It can take a long time. And if you have latch problems, it is challenging. But for me, after we got over the initial hump of like having my oversupply and having latch issues, it really was like second nature to just nurse him. I feel like we always talk about formula like it's the easier option of the two things, or like, oh, like you're giving up if you stop breastfeeding. Doing formula is a lot of work, like especially if you have stairs. You gotta walk downstairs, you gotta start boiling water, you gotta scoop things out in the middle of the night when you're sleep deprived. When you're breastfeeding, all you do is go, ooh. I mean, that to me, that's a lot easier. And I don't want to like discredit the fact that people do have problems with their supply. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm just saying my experience with breastfeeding was so much easier than formula. Granted, I didn't start introducing formula until like 11 and a half months. So it was just not like second nature to me to make a bottle. It felt like a lot of work. To wash all the bottles was so annoying, and I just honestly didn't like it. This day, I do still really miss breastfeeding because for one, I miss the bond, and I also miss how it was kind of the great equalizer of our lives. Like anything that went wrong could genuinely be fixed by nursing. Like he accidentally fell and hit his head, throw him on, he's happy now. He's hungry, throw him on, he's happy now. He's tired, throw him on, he's going to sleep. It was just like the great equalizer, and I understand like I can't always have that for his entire life, but I loved being able to just offer that comfort on command. And now I feel like we're kind of relearning everything together, and it's definitely a process. It's definitely a journey. And I just feel like 12 months was a really big jump and change for us in a lot of regards, because everything just seems like it's changing so fast. I think from stopping nursing to like he's getting a bunch of teeth all of a sudden and he's starting to walk, and there's just like all these really big transitions happening where I feel like I had found my footing between like 10, 11, 12 months, and then now like once we hit the year mark, I just feel like I'm like what happened? Where am I? I don't know if anyone else has felt like this. Like, it's been hard. You have successfully transferred your baby over to whole milk, or you just have a baby that's over a year old. What did that look like for your family? What are you currently doing? Like, I'm just so curious, how many ounces of milk are you giving them a day? What do their meals look like? I'm always curious what other people are doing, because I'm like, obviously everyone in the history of the world has done this at some point, probably. I think I just heard Archer wake up. And I'm just curious because I feel like this was such a crazy transition for me, and I couldn't really find a lot of answers online, but this is obviously something that everyone goes through. So I'm like, this can't be that crazy, like, come on. But anyway, let me know in the comments what your experience was with switching to whole milk, and if you stopping nursing. I feel like the transition from formula to whole milk is probably so much easier. Granted, we did introduce formula and we were combo feeding, but I would say we were primarily nursing. Also, this is how my nails turned out. Very cute. Bye.